done quite a lot of work. We've put all of the gunnel in, the beam shelf, all of the deck structure basically, stringers, floor timbers and wet well. All the beams we just laminated, they're about 9 or 10 layers, all glued together. They've been done off the deck camber jig which we made on the CNC machine. The carlins for the forward cabin have been bent off the boat. They're made in 2 laminations and they're going to form the structure for the lower trunk cabin up the bow. The Samson post has been pre-fitted with all the strong backs. It's been taken out so that we can repair the top of it. We'll put that in after the anchor locker bulkhead, which is going to go just in front of that. We decided to use stainless steel knees in this boat and breast hooks because the boat was never built with an apron, and therefore all the planks have got a lot of pressure pushing off the stem, and that was the only thing holding them on were the screws at the hood end. So we got these breast hooks made upstairs, and they're all been made about 3 millimeters too small, so when I tightened them up it pulled the boat together. Made them upstairs. I had Bill, the metal worker, come down. He made some patterns up, took them upstairs, welded them, then brought them down to make sure they were a little bit small, and then put the final framework in. So when I tightened them up, you can see they've come tight. Beam is the front face of the wheelhouse, and then the open areas where we'll build all the wheelhouse cabin. All the side deck trimmers have been reused from the old main deck beams. We've cut them and thicknessed them down to reuse the old wood in the boat where possible. The aft lazarette hatch has been trimmed out just behind the belt sander there, and you can see the other 2 quarter knees have been put in there, stainless steel as well. The stringers have been put through the boat, both the top layer and bottom. They're made of 2 laminations inch thick, and we redesigned it to how it was originally done with the smaller wet well. We've incorporated the stringer onto where the wet well lands, which makes it extremely strong and also doesn't inhibit the bed space. Here are where the stanchions for the bulwarks are going to go, and then in between has been blocked so that when we plane the shear down, it'll be a complete solid timber landing for the plywood to be put onto. All the beams have been bolted in. These 3 here have been deliberately left unbolted because we have to put the longitudinal bulkheads in to make up the head and 2 cabins on the side. So these will get put in shortly when we've done the walls. The bolts will already been made and they've already been drilled out. They'll just drop straight in and bolt up. Single bolt in the boat is hand measured and then made. They're all different lengths because the gunnel tapers up at the bow and stern, so they're all a set length. We measure them, we make the head on the bolt machine and then put the thread on with our thread making machine. It's quite a timely process. There's about 180 3/8 bolts in the wet well alone, and then every single deck beam has got a bolt at either end, with the main beams having 2 bolts. So there's been a hell of a lot of bolts to be made, and I'm glad most of them are done. Here's the wet well. It's a little bit smaller than the original one. In the last video we were looking at the plugging up the wet well holes. You can see the wet well came another couple of planks further up, but in the new design we're going to have 2 double beds on either side, so we reduced it sideways a little bit, but fore and aft it's the same length and the same position it was originally in. I've reused some of the old wet well. The old wet well was 3-inch Merbau, so we're using 2-inch on this one because it's a smaller size, and later we're going to gunk plywood onto the wet well. So we've thicknessed down and de-nailed all the old ones, and we've reused the boards. In a few positions we've even relocated the old bolt holes so that we've reduced the amount of holes in the timber. This lower section completely bolted through the boat, goes right through the plank all the way up, and then from here the boards are just stacked on top of each other with polyurethane gunk between. this will eventually get plywooded because the heat from the engine room can open the wet well boards up. This is obviously in the engine room section of the boat here. And then moving forward, this cleat is structural as well as the dividing cleat between where the fuel tanks are going to go, and then on this side is going to be the double bed on both sides of the wet well. This will all get V-groove plywood put over the top and be gloss white painted, so you won't see any of the old timber, but it's actually been reclaimed, which is good. Forward section, I've already started putting rough fitting the plywood for the wet well. This will have all the services for the shower and the head put onto it. It'll then have another piece of plywood put over the top, and that'll create a service void. There's a tube conduit hole that's going to be going through here that runs right through the wet well, which will connect the two bilges together, so that all the water from the forward bilge will actually drain through to the lower pump at the back of the boat. The cleats here, they're bolted. There's 2 bolts per board going through this way, and then alternating in going into the boards running this way. So it's a very strong design, and these will all get gunked up so they will no longer be seen. And then moving forward, all the floor timbers have been put in, which are set deliberately at certain heights for our floor height. So there's no floor bearers to put in, because we just put the plywood directly onto the floor timbers. You can see that they're bolted 2 bolts, 1 bolt, 2 bolt, and then 1 bolt in a continuing pattern. They're 5/8, and then these are 3/4 inch bolts. The reason why we do that is so that you don't have a big line down the keel, which can become a weakness. So we stagger the bolts like that, and then as you come up, this is the in the head area, so there's going to be 2 longitudinal walls like that. This is the lower floor height. We've made it so there's just enough floor. Then you'll be stepping up into the cabin. There'll be portholes moving forward, and you can see the strength of the floor timbers under the floor. This one is what takes the weight of the mast, so the mast is directly in the middle of this floor timber, and that's bolted right through the boat with 4-inch screws, two on every plank. So it's immensely strong now compared to what it originally was.